The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on live shows. Stay tuned throughout the show tonight to find out how to get in on some bonus entries for our monthly giveaway. If you want to get a head start on that, go over to afteractionproject.com/giveaway. If you like what we're doing and would like to help support the show, visit patreon.com/afteractionproject. Huge shout out to all of our supporters over there. We definitely appreciate what you guys are doing. If you'd like to throw us some free support and appreciation, we would greatly appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes. A little known fact is that this is the least reviewed podcast on the Firearms Radio Network, and we need your help changing that tonight or tomorrow, but definitely this week. Tonight's episode, just like every episode, is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. Be sure to check out the other great podcasts on the Firearms Radio Network by visiting firearmsradio.tv. And I think this is the most redundant introduction in podcast history, with all the words that I use multiple times. But tonight we're joined by Benjamin DeWalt of Onsight Firearms Training and his student Jeff. Together, they're going to bring us into the student seat of Ben's defensive shotgun course that was held at Ridgeline Training Center in New Hampshire a couple weeks ago. Be sure to get any questions or comments that you have for these folks going down below in the comment section wherever you're watching us, and we'll get those addressed throughout tonight's episode. Before we get much further into that, Ben, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, and then when you're not shooting shotguns, what are you doing?
Okay. Well, my wife and I run a company called Onsight Firearms Training. We work with, there's 6 of us total that work with the company. Most of us are based out of New York, the New York, New Jersey area. However, we've got a guy over in Massachusetts, up in Boston. We've got another guy out in Pittsburgh. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, so I do probably 90% of the teaching. I bounce from Maine to Virginia to Pittsburgh to Ohio to wherever it is that I can end up and teach at. We do basically rifle, pistol, shotgun, all different variations of the classes. We mix a little of the two, rifle and pistol, low light, hand-to-hand, knife, stick, and some med classes. I have a 17-year background in martial arts, so I do a lot of the hand-to-hand stuff. Big on stand-up fighting, not really a big ground fighting guy. That's another avenue that I definitely want to get into at some point. It seems to be all the rage lately, a lot of the ground fighting, the BJJ stuff. So do a lot of that. Outside of OFT, I work at a gym. So I'm a weightlifting coach, work as a personal trainer, fitness trainer for people. Come in and people that just want to move their bodies and get more familiar with some exercise stuff, not necessarily go too heavily into it. So, there's basically all sorts of levels of fitness training that we do, and we incorporate a lot of that into the OFT classes as well. Definitely a big supporter and believer of, if you're going to run guns, you got to be able to run yourself as well. So a little bit about what I do. Other than that, I try to find days off. Not really too crazy about not doing something, but I kind of have to force myself to take a day off and just relax. Otherwise, you get burned out. You end up crashing instead of coming to a soft landing. So
Yeah, know how it is. But anytime I have a weekend off, though, Andy can attest to it. It's like, what are we forgetting, man? We need to be doing something.
Yeah, it's like that. It's that paranoia that I'm like, I'm supposed to do something today, aren't I? What was I supposed to do? And my wife's like, why don't you relax? And I'm like, because I feel like I'm forgetting something. I feel like there's like this panic moment going on. I'm supposed to be someplace. So
yeah, like at the range with the students who are waiting for you.
that has not happened yet.
Same here. But man, I've heard stories with other instructors where it has, and it's like, oh man, it's like one of my number one fears is I'm going to forget about a range day. And
I did wake up late one day. I woke up normally for like our local class. We have to be there at 9 o'clock. We tell everybody meet us at 9. So that means I have to leave the house. I have to leave the house at 8 o'clock so I can stop, get coffee, grab breakfast, get to the range, sign in, do all my paperwork, and then meet on the range at 9. And I remember one day I woke up at 8 o'clock. I don't know what happened. I must have forgot to set the alarm or slept through it. But I woke up and I was like, oh, man, it's good to sleep. What time is it? Oh, my God, it's 8 o'clock. Like, whew, out the door, in the car, brush my teeth in the car as I'm driving, putting my shirt on in the car. Like, just complete panic mode. It was amazing.
Yeah, I've done that.
Cool. Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to Ben's defensive shotgun course.
Let's see. I'm probably an old man compared to you guys. I'm 50. I spent about 25 years in the hospitality industry, and my second career as a draftsman in the last 10 years. I stay at home, work at home, and for the last maybe 6 years, I've been a training junkie. With all the new instructors coming up to the Northeast, it's really been a blessing.
Old man, you're 1 year older than me.
Hey, Jeff, can you tell us
Yes,
about?
I am the old man here. I found Ben through a forum that somebody had sent somebody a training schedule, and he said, I've heard good things about him. And it was a pistol class, I think maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to get rid of me since.
No, I tried to.
Yes, he has.
I have him hold targets for us at every class, and he still keeps coming back.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Nothing quite like downrange training. So you're a training junkie. I think that's the best kind of junkie that you can be, especially in today's age. Talk to us a little bit about, or actually before we do that, Ben, talk to us a little bit about the defensive shotgun course, what your goal is for your students on that, and then kind of how you came to be teaching that class.
Well, for us in the Northeast, New York and Massachusetts specifically, shotgun has become the go-to platform for home defense, personal defense in and around the home. You watch all this stuff on the news and all these politicians, you got this Beto O'Rourke clown who's, hell yes, we're coming for your ARs. Hell yes, we're coming for your AKs. But guess what? We don't really care about your shotguns. You very rarely hear anybody talk about shotguns, and I don't want to talk too much about it because the politicians will hear and say, oh yeah, shotguns, we forgot about those. I don't want to remind them. But if you take a look at the versatility and the destructive capability of the shotgun, you get a good shotgun with some federal flight control in it, 12 gauge double-aught. I mean, you do some serious damage. You do the kind of damage that you can't really do with an AR or an AK. I think shotguns are extremely underrated. They are forgotten about. And the whole theory of the shotgun itself, it seems like it's antiquated. It's just an amazing platform. It's an amazing device. And if I can get more people into the shotgun itself, more people behind a shotgun, they start to realize, wow, this is crazy. I can't do this with my 9mm. I can't make a hole like that, in this target, in this cardboard with my AR with one shot. So it's trying to educate people on what you can do with the shotgun. You got birdshot, buckshot, slugs. I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do with it. There's a lot of old myths about shotguns that we go over. We dispel a lot of the old myths, the old training techniques that people had come up with for years and years. And just getting people to understand, what they're missing out on by disregarding the shotgun. I think it's a fantastic piece of machinery. And again, it's one of those things that no one's really mentioning about trying to take away from us, because everybody's grandfather had a shotgun and Joe Biden says, hey, buy a shotgun, so it's like, okay, no one's really coming for it, but guess what?
I agree.
I'll take the shotgun over any other platform in the house any day if someone tries to kick the front door in.
I agree. And I think I saw both of my co-hosts write down when you said it. So I'm just going to bring it up. Maybe not Andy, but I saw Jeremy. Andy's shaking his head like it wasn't me. Can you give us a couple of those myths and debunk them for us?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to aim with a shotgun.
Yes, that's true. You point the shotgun
general direction and pull the trigger. I will tell you right now, you do have to aim with a shotgun. You do have to aim with any sort of firearm. Aiming is important. That's why they put sights on guns. Even if it's just that little bead on the front of your 590 or 500, it is designed so that you have a reference point as to where to point that muzzle. If you get involved in a home defense situation, depending where you live, how close you are to your neighbors, what kind of ammunition you're running through that shotgun, the potential to do extreme damage to your family, your neighbors, your outside property, and all your indoor property greatly increases if you say, well, I don't have to aim. I'm just going to point in the general direction and pull the trigger.
So when we teach sporting clays, we always teach our students to line up the barrel of the gun on their cheek weld and watch for the bird. The bird, right. You follow the bird and you don't look at your front sight. Is there something different with home defense versus trap and skeet?
Yeah, trap and skeet, you're leading basically. Whereas with home defense, the more close range shooting, it's all about front sight or whatever optic you have, which is another great myth is you don't need an optic. Shouldn't put an optic on a shotgun. Your bead sights or whatever you have should be good enough. I run an RMR, Trijicon RMR, on my 1301, and it is fantastic. It simplifies the process even more. It's a fantastic sight. I love the RMR on a semi-auto shotgun or even on a pump shotgun. It's fantastic for buckshot. It's fantastic for slug. Jeff will tell you we were making face shots on a target at 50 yards, and that is, a good portion of that is thanks to a decent optic on the gun.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question because you mentioned range. So you mentioned 50 yards already. So Jeff, tell me about that 50 yards shooting with a shotgun. What'd you get out of that? And did it give you any surprises that you could run a shotgun from 50 yards?
Well, let me say first, I blew off my front sight on one of the shotguns I brought, and I was making hits constantly in the beginning. And as soon as that front sight came off, I was missing. Ben gave me one of his shotguns because I had broken two, and I was hitting 50 yards. We shot slugs at 100 yards up a mountain, and we were hitting a fairly small steel target all day long.
Okay.
We were amazed.
Note to self: never let Jeff borrow your shotgun.
No,
that's true.
He didn't break mine, thankfully, but mine's put together with some red Loctite instead of blue Loctite. So. Here's my other favorite myth, and I'm sure you guys have heard this one too because everyone has heard this one. If someone breaks into your house, you don't actually have to shoot them. You just rack the handguard of your pump shotgun, and that will let them know that they need to get out of your house right away. That's a fantastic one. And anyone who says, oh, if they stay in the house after they hear that shotgun, then they're there to commit suicide. Well, if they hear you rack the shotgun, they now know two things.
Yep.
Anybody want to guess what one of those two things are?
They know where you are.
And they know that you have
a gun,
a shotgun, which means if that guy breaks into your house or that gal breaks into your house, I don't want to, discriminate, leave anybody out. And let's say they do have a pistol tucked into their waistband, and the minute that they hear that you have a shotgun and now they know where you are, that pistol may end up coming out. And where you previously had the element of surprise, now you are involved in a gunfight in your home. So I don't have kids. We have a dog. That's it. He has not figured out how to switch the safety off on the shotgun yet. So, we keep magazine in the shotgun loaded. We keep one in the chamber, safety on, under the bed or someplace close by when we sleep. So I don't have to go and rack that first round. It's already there. If I hear something in the night, I pick up the shotgun, flick the safety off, and go work the house. But basically that racking of the shotgun, you're giving it all away. You're giving your hand away before you even leave your your bedroom or whatever.
Agree.
What's the minimum, or what's the required gear for the class? What does a student have to show up with class to take it?
Clothes. They got to come dressed for whatever weather we have, particularly. I've had people show up to an outdoor class with t-shirt and a hooded sweatshirt on in February. And that really, it sounds kind of funny, but when someone is cold, when someone is uncomfortable, their mind isn't on the class. Their mind is on how cold and uncomfortable they are. When people say, oh, if it ain't raining, you ain't training. Yeah, if it ain't raining, you're not getting wet. And when your students are soaking wet in the rain, they're not thinking about the class. They're thinking about the fact that they're soaking wet, which if you're not 100% focused on what you're doing in the class, that creates a huge safety concern. Because now you're preoccupied and you're distracted while you have a live firearm in your hand or a loaded firearm in your hand.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Jeremy, tell these guys about the coldest day of your life on the range.
It was cold. It was in Colorado last year. I think with the wind chill, it was like negative something. I think it was 0 degrees or negative something. And I'm from Albuquerque. Like if it's close to 50, I'm in shorts on the range.
right.
And then, so I'm not opposed to cold weather, but man, it was bitter.
Andy, Jeremy, and I took a class in October, I think it was. Could have been November. I can't remember. It was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a counter ambush vehicle class. And we literally spent more time in our trucks with the heaters on than we did on the range.
Yeah.
It was cold.
There's been some really cold days, but I mean, we're up in the Northeast primarily. I try to book my Virginia and my classes a little bit down south in the wintertime, but for some reason I still find myself February, mid to end February, outdoors, 2 feet of snow, teaching a carbine class with a group of guys, and I get that look every time I go, all right, guys, prone. And they all look at me like, prone? I'm like, yeah, prone. But I don't care, prone.
You signed up for the class. You know what month it is.
Yeah, exactly. So other stuff for the class, obviously, a shotgun or two. I try to get people to always bring a backup shotgun. A lot of shotguns that people own, if they haven't taken classes, how many rounds do they normally put through them in one day? When was the last time, not in a class, not in a formal training session, where you put more than 100 rounds through your shotgun in one day? So when the round count for the day says 300 rounds of birdshot, 50 rounds of buckshot, and 25 to 50 rounds of slug, you can usually tack another 100 rounds onto the birdshot and another 50 onto the buck and slug to be safe. But once you start putting about 200 rounds of birdshot or buckshot through your shotgun is when we see things start to fall off. Handguards, light mounts, optics, laser sights, foregrips, all kinds of crazy stuff that people put on the shotguns. And 2-3 hours into the class, I'm busting out the toolkit for people. So 1 or 2 shotguns, an oversupply of ammunition, more ammunition than is actually recommended. Eye and ear protection, obviously, sturdy belts. I don't like this whole pants falling down in class thing that I sometimes see. Good shoes, something that will support your feet being either on concrete or on dirt, grass, gravel all day. Knee pads. Knee pads are a big thing. They're not just for making money behind the berm. They are for various different shooting. And as you guys, like me, we're no spring chickens. We're all probably in our 40s. You guys look like, you're in your late 30s, 40s. A lot of the up and down, kneeling positions, prone positions, seated positions, all that stuff requires a lot of movement and a lot of flexibility and mobility. So I tell people, bring knee pads. You're going to need them. And, as soon as we get into the double kneel, single kneel, cover concealment with shotguns, people start complaining. I'm like, did you bring knee pads? Oh, I saw it on the list, but I didn't really think I needed it. If it's on the list, you need it.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. We went to Thunder Ranch a while back, and it recommended was knee pads on there. And we were talking about it on a private chat with a bunch of guys, and they're like, you guys are sissies. Are y'all gonna take knee pads? And I'm like, I'm taking knee pads. We get there, and Thunder Ranch's whole range is gravel.
Yep.
So I was like, man, thank God I brought knee pads. I used them in a Masad Ayub's class with Jeremy this last weekend, and I was happy. Everybody else was looking down, looking for shells, not to get jammed in a kneecap, and I was like, I don't even care. So yeah, I like knee pads a lot, even behind the berms.
One of my big reasons for having multiple pairs of knee pads in all of my different range bags. If you guys are familiar with Katanica Clothing Company out of Northern California, great guys. They're good friends of mine. They take good care of us at OFT. They always, they're kind of like a little sort of semi-sponsor us. They send us some stuff every now and then to check out. We wear their gear proudly, but they're a little on the expensive side. But the quality that you get for it, you pay the price, you get good quality. Well, I had a pair of pants that I just got from them. It was about $200 for a pair of pants. And my dumbass did not bring knee pads that day. And I went down to do a single kneel. I think it was actually a shotgun class. And I ended up just blowing out the whole knee of one of the pairs of pants, the right knee. And I just remember going, dumbass. Like, first day I had them, ripped the whole knee out of them. So ever since then, it's been like knee pads, just to at least protect the clothing, right?
Hey Jeff, how many rounds did you shoot in that class? Do you remember?
Oh, at least 400 birdshot, maybe 50, 60 buckshot, and a good 30 to 40 slugs easily.
Yeah, that was a long day.
How'd your shoulder feel at the end of the day?
The first time I took the shotgun class, it hurt. But after the third time, I knew what to expect. So it didn't hurt too bad. And also, I went down to a 20 gauge when my 12 gauge broke. So that was much easier on the body.
Tell me about
his 14-year-old daughter let him borrow her 20 gauge.
It's true. It's true.
Hey, whatever works, right? Tell me, Jeff, tell me about the technique that you maybe learned from Ben in the class to be able to kind of knock that pain down in your shoulder from shooting so much.
Not so much putting it in the pocket, but more on your breastbone or your pectoral, and squaring up more on the target.
Yeah. It's a big thing that I see. A lot of guys, when they first come into the shotgun class, everybody wants to shoot off to the side. They want to get this bladed stance where it's almost like they're shooting something out of a civilian marksmanship program shoot. I try to get people shoulders and hips squared up on the target, and instead of placing that butt pad in that crease, or believe it or not, on the shoulder, or really, believe it or not, on the bicep. Yeah, I know, right? Right inside the crease on the first portion, like the first 3 inches or 2 inches of that pectoral muscle, instead of in the crease, the shoulder, or, yes, believe it or not, on the bicep. I've had somebody do that.
Nice. At the beginning of the class, Ben will take a pump and a semi-automatic, and he will actually show us exactly where to place it. That's one of the things I really like about Ben's style, is he takes the time to tell you, show you, and tell you again. And because we were running pumps and semis, you would demonstrate with both types of guns. I mean, not so much with the placement of it matters, but when we were loading or any other type of thing, he would switch guns because it was a little bit different for a pump versus semi.
Because I like shooting both.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Get it in and
More shooting time for me.
Yeah, one of the things we teach in our instructor level classes is tell them, show them, ask them. TSA. Tell them what to do, show them what to do, and then ask them to perform the skill.
Yeah, that is the adult learning method. Explain it, demo it, observe it, and then make your corrections. And then finally, if you're in that sort of curriculum where you're going to test them, you would test them at the end.
Yeah, and that's the mantra of the NRA is the demonstrate, observe. I just found that TSA works a little bit easier because remember, tell them, show them, ask them. TSA, everybody hates them anyway. So TSA, tell them, show them, ask them.
Yep, absolutely.
I like it.
I like the I'm getting berated there in the live comments by Mr. Fisher.
Mr. Fisher.
Steve,
I thought that was to me.
No.
If it didn't shout out Ben, I was gonna start replying thank you and take those compliments. But Steve says hello, you sexy beast, and you're so hot. We do have a question on Facebook from Steven. He says shotguns can be heavy. I guess we would all agree they could be heavenly as well. Shotguns can be heavy. How does one overcome the weight for a class? And kind of in that same vein, what are some obstacles you see with newer students overcoming some of these challenges or perceived challenges that a lot of folks tend to think shotguns are going to give them? You know, the weight, the recoil, and what have you.
You have to get in and try it. One of the biggest setbacks and one of the biggest problem areas that I see is people are afraid to try it. They're afraid to try something new. They're afraid to at least, ask somebody for help. I've had people say, "Oh, I can't shoot a 12 gauge. That'll knock me on my ass." And I tell them, no, it won't. Jeff, for example, first time I told you, "Hey, guess what we're doing today? Or guess what we're doing next? We're going to shoot a shotgun one-handed." What did you say to me?
The fuck?
Are you fucking nuts?
Yeah. And what happened? We shot a shotgun.
That was that.
And how bad was it?
It wasn't bad at all. It was.
No. It's all about leverage. It's all about being able to pull that shotgun in tight and hold it there. It's, if the shotgun is heavy, find a shotgun that's not so heavy. I had a Mossberg 930 for a while. And if you had a Mossberg 930 and then you picked up a 1301, there's a huge difference in the weight. So it was a no-brainer. What did I do? I sold the 930 and used part of the money from the 930 to upgrade myself to the 1301. Much easier gun to run and hold up all day. And like I said earlier, if you're going to run guns and you're going to run long guns and you're going to run heavy guns, you should probably get yourself in a little bit of good shape. A lot of gun guys, we rely solely on the gun. Well, what happens when the gun doesn't work? When you lose the gun, you drop the gun, somebody takes the gun from you, and now you're just relying on yourself. You got to be in good shape. You have to, maybe exercise every once in a while, get yourself fit so that you can hold these guns up. And how much crap do you have attached to this gun?
That's exactly what I was about to ask you, Ben.
How much shit do you have screwed onto this gun that's adding another 5 pounds to it, right? Take a look at some of the ARs that you see people show up to classes with. They've got everything on there. They've got, mag coupler, flashlight, a laser. They've got a magnifier. They've got an optic. They've got an MP3 player. They've got a USB port. They've got a beer koozie, cell phone attachment, all kinds of this crazy crap on there. Just stripped down to what you need. The only thing that I run besides the RMR on the shotgun is a light. That's it. Even the side saddle's not really that heavy. So, my buddy Alex says ounces equal pounds and pounds equals pain. So the less crap I have on the gun, one, the less crap that's going to fall off, and two, the less crap I have on the gun, the lighter the gun is going to be. So, we got to do a little bit of forward thinking before we just start throwing stuff on the gun and adding, an extra 3 or 4 pounds to the gun.
Jeff, I think you had a comment that you want, or you had about.
Yes, the first time I took a shotgun class was with Ben, and I had a 590 with a Surefire front end light on it, because that was like high speed, and that was the cool thing to have
in 1980.
Well, yeah, I'm old. Remember that. And by the second half of the class, I could not hold that gun up. The Surefire light added so much weight to the front of the barrel, was unbelievable. As soon as that class was over, that shotgun was gone. Yep, gone.
I remember those. I remember that handguard was big for a while, and it was the hotness. It was the new hotness for a while. And
Jeff, is that the Surefire handguard, or is it a handguard, or
it's the handguard with the light built in?
Yeah,
right.
I have a friend of mine that's kind of a fan of those. He's got 3 or 4 of them on his shotguns, and I did notice when we went to the range and he brought a couple of those out that they are extremely.
The weight gets to you after.
They're heavy, and some people dig them, some people love them, some people run them like bosses, and other people it just beats up their hand every time they shoot it. I mean, it's not for everybody. You have to find what works for you, and you have to find what you want to put on there. But the more crap you put on, the more complications you're going to have down the road.
Agreed.
And if you're just firing 5 or 6 shots, it's fine. But when you fire 150 shots, it's a problem.
What would you guys recommend a good entry-level shotgun be for somebody that's looking or considering a shotgun for a home defense weapon?
Jeff, you want to throw in on it?
I would, entry level, I would say either an 870 or a 500 pump shotgun with nothing but rifle sights on it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 870. Mossberg 590, 500s are cool. I just happen to like the 870s better. And then, the 1301. The weight and lack thereof of the 1301 really, really sold me on this gun. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's for a semi-auto. It eats everything. Where I've seen my buddies with their Benellis have a problem with low brass or different types of birdshot. I just keep throwing everything into this 1301, and it just shoots it. It does not care. So for a semi-auto, the 1301 all day, and then for a pump, 870.
In the last class with Ben, everyone else ran 1301s except me, and there was very little problems, if any, if I can remember. I mean, I had the problems with the pump.
It's getting to a point where shotgun classes now, it's just, you might as well just advertise it as a Beretta 1301 shooting class, because everyone's buying them, everyone's running them, and it's fantastic.
So how much money did I just spend on a new shotgun?
About $1,000.
Okay.
I would say in and around 1,000 to 1,100, and you'll love every penny of it. It's worth it.
Hey, Andy, what's your favorite shotgun?
I don't know if I have a favorite shotgun because I'm kind of getting more into it. So I recently bought a Stoeger M3000 Sporting. It's pretty nice. It's got all the chokes on it, and it has a bunch of upgrades that I'm starting to learn about now. One of our buddies in another podcast, he runs 3-gun, and he was telling me about all the things you can buy for it. So I'm pumped for that. So let me ask you a question, Ben. So since I'm a pretty new shotgun shooter myself, we mentioned a red dot. You said you got a fancy Trijicon on there, which is awesome. Those are great. So I have a Burris fast fire piece of junk in the safe somewhere in the bottom. If I threw that on my Stoger, would that benefit me at all?
I think you already answered the question with what you're
So tell us a little bit, share a little bit about the sights.
I thought you were going to see if we would trade the RMR for your fast fire.
I've totally seen Andy's safe, and it literally has like 1980s like quad rail handguards buried at the bottom of the safe.
You have some NC Star stuff in there?
Probably.
I like the Trijicon RMRs, but the new hotness seems to be the Hollow Suns.
Yeah.
I got a Hollow Sun on my Glock 19, which is my carry gun, which is also my class gun, which is also my practice gun, which seems to be the gun I can't put down. And I think that has a lot to do with the optic itself. Mr. Fisher turned me on to the whole red dot concept, and I haven't looked back since. I went from, iron sights, shot 1911s forever, and then got into Glocks. And as soon as I got into Glocks, it was like learning how to shoot all over again. The difference between the 1911 and then trying to shoot a Glock, it was just like, wait a second. I know, I swear I know how to shoot. I really do. And then as we get older, what happens to our eyes? They start, there you go. They start to go. So switched over to the red dot. And now I just want to put, red dots on everything. It's just so fantastic. The price point on the Hollow Sun being about half the cost of the RMR is a huge selling point, a huge benefit to it. The RMRs are great. Hollow Sun, comparable.
Yeah, I run a 507C.
Yeah,
I run a 507C on my Polymer too, my Polymer 80, and it's great. I love it.
Fantastic. You can buy 2 or 3 of them for the price of an RMR. So
before we get off of that, have you ran the Hollow Sun on a shotgun? Or have you seen any come through class?
Not yet. Have not seen any come into the class yet, but
I'd just be interested to see how, because they're durable from everything we hear so far on pistols and whatnot. I'm just wondering how it would hold up in a shotgun.
Problem is, I bought like 3 RMRs, so they're on various things until they're no longer on there or they're no longer capable of being on there, and then I'm going to replace everything with a Hollow Sun. So, running a Hollow Sun on my Glock 19, and then I've got my 17 and a couple other things that have the RMRs on them. If it's not broke, I ain't going to replace it just yet. But if something happens where I'm switching out the RMRs, I'm going to replace them all with Hollow Suns.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. When I was at the NRA annual meeting, I think it was last year, actually, I stopped by the Hollow Sun booth and talked to one of the gals there, and she was, I'm a straight up, I've got aim points on several of my rifles, and now I'm getting to the point where after talking to her and the technology and the customer service and whatnot, and I have no dog in this fight whatsoever, but if I have a choice to buy an optic now, it's going to be in a Hollow Sun. I've got several of them on several different not pistols, but rifles.
Yeah, we're lucky that we have the access and the ability to ask these questions of people.
Yeah.
Steve, my buddy Dave Harrington, a bunch of other instructors, great sources for information. Jeff will tell you, I get, questions all the time. People text me, email me, call me, whatever. Hey, what do you think of this? Hey, what do you think of that? And I either say, well, I have one and I really like it, or I say I had one and I hated it and I took it to the range and shot it, or I say, hey, I've never used it. I have no clue if it's any good, but I'll find out. I'll ask somebody who's used it and I'll get you the answer. there's a lot of great resources to sort of vet this equipment before we go spending money on it. Whereas, back before, a lot of people were communicating like the way they are now. It was buy it, try it, don't like it, you're stuck with it. So it's a good option to just ask around.
Getting back to the class, or actually back to the Remington 870, the good shotgun for an entry, or good first shotgun. What are some things that a new shotgun shooter can do to the shotgun, either the 870 or the 1301, to make it a little bit more user friendly?
Shoot it a lot. Everyone that gets a new gun, they want to, I want to buy this accessory for it. I want to change this. I want to do this. I want to buy this. I want to add this to it. Take it out and shoot it first. And I don't mean like shoot 50 rounds through it. I mean like shoot 500 rounds through it. Like, this is where we really find what works on the gun, what we want to add, what we want to take off. How do I get good at shooting? I shoot my gun. How do I figure out, what I like about the gun? I shoot it. As far as the 870 goes, 870, the 500s, the 590s, even the 1301, one of the first things that I do to all of these shotguns is I take the stock furniture off and I put the Magpul furniture on. Huge fan of the Magpul furniture, just for the overall angle of that grip, the ergonomics of that grip. I mean, it's somewhere between a pistol grip and a traditional shotgun grip.
It's almost European.
Yeah, I'm just a huge fan of the way that this sits on the gun and the way that it holds in the hand. So I have found it very easy to shoot one-handed. I found it really easy to hold that up while reloading or clearing malfunctions or doing whatever it is, technical or admin work that I need to do to it. So, the Magpul furniture is a big plus. For me at least, but other than that, it's really just get out and shoot it. Get yourself familiar with your gun, get comfortable with it, understand how it works, understand the way that it reacts. Everyone's looking for a quick shortcut. There's really no shortcuts other than getting down and putting some serious work and some serious time behind your gun.
Yeah, I agree. My Remington 870 is fully equipped with Magpul furniture from top to bottom, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Jeff, I want to kick it back over to. Oops, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I would add rifle sights. I find they're so much better than a bead.
So are you talking like flip up sights on an AR, like on a rail, or what type of sights are you referring to, Jeff?
Ghost ring on the back, and either a blade or a dot in the front.
Okay.
I can't shoot speed for shit.
Jeff and or Ben. There's a red dot out there. I think it's called the. What is it? Jeremy, you may have to edit this out. I'm trying to think of what it was called. It was big back 2 or 3 years ago, and it was like the first red dot that you can get for a shotgun, and I can't remember the name of it. I thought it was just called the red dot or the.
It wasn't the Leupold Delta point, was it?
What's that?
The Leupold or the Romeo by Sig or any of those?
No, I don't think so. Jeremy, you just edit this out. I can't think of the word.
It's going to be the intro. I'm going to actually just loop this like 8 times.
Nice.
If I think of it, I'm just going to blur it out like I have Tourette's, and you guys can, figure it out.
Can you loop the part where he was distorted a little there?
Come on. My internet sucks.
Yeah, that wasn't the
All we
internet.
heard was that.
I literally live in the middle of nowhere in the mountains.
Me too.
So Jeff, kicking it back to class, what was one of your goals, one of the goals that you had for yourself after attending this class?
But coming into the class, I really wanted to get my port reloading smoother, because even with an extended magazine, you only have 7 or 8 shots there. And with Ben's course of fire, that goes really, really fast. And we're always feeding the machine, as he says, always, if you're not shooting, you're reloading. And
reloading, you should be moving.
I'm sorry?
If you're not reloading, you should be moving.
Well, you should always be reloading, he says. Always reloading. And trying to go either over or under into that while you're moving. Usually my feet and brain don't work at the same time trying to load a shotgun that way. And so that's that was a big goal for me to do it, and it worked,
Yeah.
He's motivating sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I yell behind you and go, "What the are you doing?"
It's more, damn it, Jeff.
Yeah.
Damn it, Jeff. Yeah, that was the quote. We had 2 Jeffs in the class,
Yes.
and I had one guy named Jeff was the other guy, and I said, all right, to this Jeff, I said, all right, your name is now Damn It, Jeff. So
Nice. What are some obstacles that or the biggest areas or the biggest opportunities that students have coming into your class, Ben, into that defensive shotgun class? What's the biggest aha moment for those students? The one thing that you can get them doing where it takes them, it exponentially increases their ability with the defensive shotgun.
showing them what their ammo actually does when it's fired to the target.
I like it.
We do a little section where we pattern various types of buckshot, and I have on the equipment list, your 50 rounds of buckshot. And then I will also have a good supply of my buckshot that I prefer. And then I'll have the cheap buckshot. And then there's always 4 or 5 guys who all have different types of buckshot. So we'll mix and match different types of buckshots out of everybody's guns and see what kind of patterns we get. And what we'll see is, you guys could both have 870s, identical Remington 870s. And we will take the exact same ammo from the same box and shoot them out of both of those guns and see 2 completely different patterns. And this last class in particular, we had a couple guys who had shotguns for home defense, and their buckshot that they brought at 15 yards was giving them basketball-sized patterns. And when we talked about your accountability for home defense, like, where do all those pellets go? If you miss your target, or you get part of your target, or you partially hit that guy who's kicking your front door in, where do the rest of those pellets go? Because you're going to be held accountable for them if they go to someplace else where they're not supposed to go. So we'll swap out different types of buckshot, and I'll throw a load of federal flight control into somebody's gun, and they'll see at 25 yards, they've got a buckshot pattern about the size of a $50, and everyone goes, whoa.
Oh,
Was that a slug? No, dude, that was federal flight control buckshot.
no, that was like 5 44 magnums hitting in the same spot within,
Yeah, with one trigger pull.
Yeah.
And that really blows people's mind when they see the different types of things that their gun can accomplish given the right ammunition, the right conditions. Like, when we put a slug in and we're hitting headshots or face shots at 50 yards on paper, and then we turn around and we shoot a 10 by 10 steel plate at 150 yards that's up on a hill with slugs. And that's when people kind of go, well, I didn't know I could do that with a shotgun. Like, yeah, you can if you just try, or if someone shows you that you can do it. And that's amazing. That's amazing, like to see the look on people's faces when they realize what they're actually holding in their hand is not their grandfather's birdshot rabbit gun, or duck gun.
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
They're holding a very versatile and very destructive piece of machinery in their hand that is capable of accomplishing many different tasks instead of just, shooting clays out of the air.
On the ammo, that segues perfectly into Steven's question. He wants to know what your recommendations for home defense shotgun ammo are. And
Federal flight control.
Federal flight control.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on the what is it? Is it candy striping where it's like birdshot, slug, bug? Can we talk about that a little bit?
No, let's not talk about that.
Everybody else is talking about it. That's everybody else's. That's the ignorant man's advice. Anytime you see somebody run a shotgun for home defense, what's your ammo? There's like 4 rednecks that are like birdshot, slug, buck, birdshot, pepper spray.
I just did a class.
Beanbag.
Just took a class with Steve Fisher out in Alliance. And I love going out to Steve's classes. I love taking classes from other instructors, because guess what? I don't have to do all day.
Instruct.
I don't have to teach. I ain't got to do nothing but show up and shoot. So it's fantastic. I get new drills. I get new knowledge. I get to shoot all day, and I don't have to deal with anything else, right? So one of the things that came up in that conversation was that whole 1 round of birdshot and then 3 rounds of buckshot, and then let's throw in 1 round of rubber ball ammo or whatever. Just get the job done and get it done quickly. Our home defense guns here at home are just loaded up with nothing but federal flight control, because I don't want to have to deal with boom, oh crap, that didn't work, all right, let me shoot them again. Just get the job done the first time. Do it right. Do it the right way. The right way all the time, and you don't have to worry about it.
I like it.
Tell us about that federal flight control. Explain it. Pretty often, I've heard you talk about it at least 4 or 5 times within the podcast already. So I want to know more about this round. Tell me about it, and then Jeff, I want to know your thoughts as well.
It's basically the construct of the wadding keeps everything together for a longer period of time. So once that is fired with most birdshot, buckshot, that as we get, farther back, we get more distance. It comes out in that V pattern. The flight control holds everything together tighter for a longer period of time or longer distance. So where you would see, your other Federals, your Remington TAC 8s, your Remington Express ammo, all that stuff at 25 yards, we get patterns like my one 870 will give me a pattern about the size of a basketball at 25 yards, whereas the Federal Flight Control will give me like a 4-inch pattern at 25 yards. The exact science of it, it's all ballistics. It's a whole rabbit hole. But in this day and age, when we're talking about, using firearms for defense or using firearms for home defense, we get into that whole, every round, everything that comes out of your muzzle, you are responsible for, whether you intended the result or not. So my house, our neighbors aren't really that close. We're up on a mountain, but we've got a lot of cool stuff in the house. And I want to make sure that if I ever do have to employ, that shotgun for home defense, I know where everything's going to go. I don't have to worry about, accidentally hitting the dog or hitting my TV or hitting, something on the wall or doing any structural or cosmetic damage. I can take a good 15, 20-yard shot with that buckshot, with that flight control, and keep it in a fist-sized group and not have to worry about it spreading out. A lot of guys will show up to class with the brown box Olin / Winchester military grade, and they'll go, well, this is good stuff. See, it says military grade on it. And I'm like, yeah, that means it went to the lowest bidder for the contract. That's all it means. It's not the stuff the special forces guys are going to use. I hate to break it to you. But again, do your research. Pattern out your buckshots. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different shotguns that I usually take to classes, and they all pattern the same ammo differently. I can put 1 round of the same ammo in all 5 shotguns, and I get a different result on each of them. So the only thing that I've seen that is pretty consistent is the flight control. I've gone from, 25 yards, a 2-inch group with one gun, to a 5-inch group on another gun, that being the two ends of the spectrum. So, experiment a little bit.
Andy, do you have a follow-up question? I have one.
Well, it was the question was to Jeff too, to tell us about that ammunition also. What do you thought about it?
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to add to what Ben said, because it's phenomenal. It's mind-blowing, really, what it can do versus all the other types of buckshots that are being shot in the class. I mean, it almost looks like it's birdshot versus slug. But I want to go back to an aha moment when the light bulb goes off. I've taken the class 3 different times with 3 different groups of students. And every single time when we go back to rehydrate and fill our bags up with buckshot, the students are all amazed what this can do. And they were like, I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. And you can see the light or the effect that it has on their face when they're going, oh my God, this is amazing stuff.
What did we have last time? We had those 2 guys that came in, and they were kind of like, yeah, we just kind of want to learn how to use the shotgun. We're not really big shotgun guys. And then by the end of the day, they were like, oh my God, I love the shotgun. This is the greatest thing ever. Oh my God, it's so cool. The shotgun is so awesome. And, in the course of, like Jeff's saying, in the course of 6-7 hours, someone's opinion just got flipped upside down. Like their whole world just came to a screeching halt, and they had this self-realization that, their grandfather's gun wasn't just their grandfather's gun anymore. This was a badass piece of machinery, and that's huge.
Yeah, awesome. So it looks like we have a listener question, but I wanted to just kind of. My dog's freaking out. Sorry.
Nice.
There's probably a bear or trash panda or something out there.
That's a home invader.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of close out the ammo section of our podcast with a question that. Jeff and Ben, have you used, and are you a fan of, if you have used, the tracker ammo from Winchester?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
I started using it I've only been a shotgun instructor for not very long, but both Andy, Jeremy, and I are new shotgun instructors, and I've been shooting shotgun in my entire life, but I started using the tracker ammo about 2 years ago, just taking people to the range and setting up my trap machine and, teaching them how to shoot clays. And I wanted to know if you had an opinion on that, but if you don't, then we can delete this and edit it out. But I find that the tracker ammo, it basically has a blaze orange or black wad that is designed to hold some of the shot in the wad. So the wad actually continues to follow the pattern as it goes further out. Normally when you shoot a shotgun, the shot goes out and the wad falls considerably lower than the shot pattern is, for the most part, as the distance increases. But the tracker ammo from Winchester actually holds some of the shot in the wad and continues to follow that shot pattern. So I didn't know if you guys had any experience with that or not.
No, I guess I know what I'm buying this weekend, though.
Try it. It actually does work.
There's, like all ammos, whether it's, rifle, pistol ammo, shotgun ammo, there's so much of it out there. And I try to get all the different types so I can try all the different things with it and see what works, what doesn't work, what patterns well, what doesn't. I've kind of found, my Birdshot is strictly for practice.
Okay.
I don't hunt. So, when I shoot shotgun, it's just, training or practicing for defensive situations. So my Birdshot is strictly for admin and just, function, cycle of operation, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Even when we teach it in class, the whole purpose of Birdshot is just get all of the reps in, all of the cycling reps, the function reps, all that. And then when we switch to Birdshot, that's when we get into, all right, well, here's what we're going to use for, self-defense, home defense. So trying the dozen or so different buckshots that I've tried, I've kind of singled out like, okay, here's all this crap that I'll demo stuff with in class, but here's the one or two brands, the one or two that I will stick to for like, shit hits the fan situation. So anytime that I can get, some new, like the Hornady one is with the Versatite wadding is fantastic as well. But I guess it's Hornady's version of flight control. But I will definitely look that up as well and experiment with it. So thank you for that. That's pretty cool.
Take a look. Just Google Winchester tracker, shotgun, whatever. I've got about, I don't know, probably 2 cases of it that I use when I take students out, which is not very often for shotgun classes, but it truly does give the instructor a visible view of where that pattern is in the air.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the black is designed for against the sky, I think, and the orange is designed for against like a berm, if you have a big enough berm.
Yeah. Sweet. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What advice do you, Jeff? Let's start with you, and then Ben, I'll kick it back over to you on this one. What advice do you have for the student or for the person that's the student that's taking this class next month or next week?
First, come with an open mind. Whatever you think you know about shotguns is probably not true. There's a lot of myths that Ben busts right away, and it's not going to hurt you as much as people tell you it's going to hurt you. Don't be afraid of it. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, you're going to have a blast. You are going to have so much fun in the class.
No pin.
And you're going to learn a lot. And you're going to want to take it over and over and over again.
Tons of puns intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
What about you, Ben? What's some advice that you have for the student that's going to be taking this class next week?
It's not your grandfather's shotgun. Bring a lot of ammo and be prepared to shoot it all. Like I said, the best way to really, everyone's looking for the shortcut. Everyone's looking for, the quick, easy way out. I had some students that would, sit here and tell me, oh, I got another pistol. Hey, I bought this other pistol. What do you think of this pistol? Hey, this so-and-so came out with this new gun. You going to get it? And I said, nah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to buy? And they're like, what are you going to buy? I'm going to go buy a couple cases of ammo and shoot what I've got, or take a couple classes from other instructors and shoot what I've got. And that's really, there's no shortcut. There's no magic special potion that you can take to be a great shooter. It's just getting the reps in, getting the time behind the gun. And be open-minded, don't show up thinking that you're there to show off. Don't show up thinking that you're going to be the best shooter or the worst shooter. Just show up. Just show up and shoot. That's it. As long as you're safe, I don't care how awful you are. And more importantly, I don't care how great you are. Obviously, I want all the students to excel, but I don't want people to be, intimidated or feel, oh, I can't go to that class. I just got an email today about a class coming up, and the guy who sent me the email basically said, yeah, I'm a former, IDPA, competitive shooter, but my friend wants to come, and he's a new shooter, and he's not really familiar with a lot of these defensive techniques, and he's a really safe shooter, but he's not up to speed on all this, this high speed stuff. And I was like, so what? Tell him to come out. This is how you learn, by going. You don't learn by staying home and saying, oh, I can't go to that. That looks like too much for me. Trust in yourself and trust in, the person that you're taking the class from. You know, there's been classes where I've hopped into where I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm going to do in this class, and I ended up doing fine. Trust your instructor and trust yourself. That's, you know, my best advice for people.
And use that
And-
project to vet your instructors.
Yeah, do some research. You know, I always tell people, if you're going to an instructor who doesn't take classes themselves anymore, what are you going to learn?
Agreed.
You're going to hit that glass ceiling, you know, where it's, you know, the guy who knows everything, and usually someone who says that they know everything usually doesn't know very much. So, you know, I continue to train. As much as I teach, I try to balance it out with, you know, as much taking classes as a student. You know, sometimes an instructor, always a student, as the saying goes.
Yep, definitely. Hey, Ben, tell us about the targets that you use. Being it's a shotgun, you know, typically we use cardboard backers with paper. Does that change for shotguns, just being that it's a shotgun?
Yeah. You guys ever heard of the company Uline?
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they're big fans of ours. We use the cardboard backers for rifle and pistol, and for buckshot and slug. I happen to have some steel targets from Tax Strike, who is I hear now is currently out of business or on hiatus. Unfortunately, they had some of the most fantastic targets, steel targets. So I use steel for the first portion of the day on, you know, to use Birdshot. Otherwise, if you go to cardboard with Birdshot for the beginning of the day and you're running 200-300 rounds through, you know, onto cardboard, you're going through, you know, 30 sheets of cardboard, you know, in 2 or 3 hours.
And
So-
sticks too, I'd imagine.
Jeff, Home Depot gift cards are fantastic for Christmas for all your favorite instructors.
Definitely.
That's another organization that are big fans of ours, Home Depot. They see me coming a mile away every Sunday. So yeah, so shooting, you know, the first portion of the day, we run everything on steel, and that sort of cuts down on our footprint, our carbon footprint on the environment. So Al Gore doesn't come and give me a hard time. But the first portion of the day, yeah, we run all the Birdshot, sort of do all the cycling and functioning and all the learning on steel. And then, you know, second portion of the day, when we start getting into more specific work, more precision work with slugs, that's where we run it on cardboard. And we have our own OFT target that you can get from a company called targetsonline.com. Go into their cardboard and paper target section, and our target is on there. It's a pretty cool target. We designed it.
Can you say that one more time for us?
Targetsonline.com. And they are fantastic. We have targets on there. Steve Fisher has his targets on there, his Sentinel Concept targets on there. A couple other guys have targets that you can go and purchase. So we use those, and other than that, Tom Gibbons Rangemaster qual targets are good. Those are another ones that we use for some of the buckshot and slug work. But as far as Birdshot, it's, you know, just straight steel. It's the only real way to economically, you know, run 200-300 rounds per student downrange without destroying, you know, your whole supply of cardboard for the month.
So Ben,
Is that-
why would you not use clays? I get the difference in the sporting side of things versus the defensive side of things, but even though you're tracking targets versus just shooting a stationary target, why wouldn't you just use a clay thrower and not? Is it a pattern thing? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I want you to answer the question though.
The range that we use, and most ranges that we use, are of the typical 25 by 50 or so walled off bermed ranges.
Okay.
So I would need to actually teach the class on, you know, a trap and skeet field,
Okay.
as opposed to, you know, guns in the air.
Okay. That makes sense. I'm really curious.
So, you know, the range limitations sort of dictate what we can do. And then if we run the class at an indoor range, a lot of indoor ranges, you know, want us to shoot buckshot only. So we've got a much more compacted type class. We have a range that we use in Long Island every once in a while, and their deal is slugs only.
Yeah.
So we do a shotgun accuracy class indoors when we just use slugs. So, you know, depending on what we can get away with at the range, usually shooting up into the, 20 guys or, 10 to 20 guys shooting shotguns up in the air all at the same time. It's kind of weird.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Usually your attackers don't have wings anyway, so
yeah,
I'm assuming that's probably the hard part.
We're teaching defensive. We're teaching self-defense and home defense. So, where's that shotgun going to be pointed? Right here, straight ahead.
Yeah, going back to your targets, is that the OFTT silhouette paper?
Yes. You found it?
Yep.
Yeah. That's it. It's got the upper thoracic circles. It's got the T-zone and a little upside down triangle pyramid zone that are in the squishy bits, as my wife calls it. And then we've got some, squares and circles at the top, and then some numbers at the bottom for your precision work. One of the cool things about the target, if you can't get out to 25 yards, you can't get out to 50 yards, just go for the smaller little boxes and circles. Change your target size instead of changing your distance.
Yeah, so my wife has a different definition for squishy parts. I'm just saying.
Whatever you're into. I don't pass judgment on anybody, what anybody does in the bedroom.
Is there a minimum skill set that a student should have prior to taking this class?
Not really. One of the things that I really try to do is to teach people. The less the student knows as far as the firearms go, sometimes that's better because I don't have to unlearn what you've been doing in your backyard with your can of beer in one hand and your shotgun in the other for 25 years. It's the here, hold my beer while I shoot this, whatever. Not having to sort of deprogram bad habits is always a plus. The only thing I ever ask is that you are competent enough to run the gun safely, which usually involves two things: muzzle discipline and trigger finger discipline. As long as you can handle that, we're good to go for the day. But violations on those two, and is that your stuff over there? Yeah, cool. Pack it up. Get off my range.
Yeah, and that's the guys that have been shooting for their entire life they can't be the ones that get kicked off ranges.
The
scariest people are the guys who have been around guns their whole lives.
Yeah, I think that holds true for most all classes above your basic shotgun class. I'm going to teach you how to, take it apart. I'm going to teach you about chokes. I'm going to teach you about this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I think Jeremy once said that, students are going to violate the rules, reprimand in private, but make sure that, if it's in public and that you need to make an immediate, muzzle, at the top of your lungs, you have to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree with that. I think Andy and Jeremy both followed that same policy with muzzle discipline and trigger discipline. So
yeah, I have, there's a local club that's actually 10 minutes from where we live. And I did a couple classes there for the guys. And my one contact there, my buddy Paul, was like, listen, before we confirm this and before you come to the club and before blah, 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 he goes, I just got to tell you a little bit about the club. And I said, all right, well, what's the deal? And he goes, it's 100 years of shooting experience, not one bit hindered by proper instruction. And I went, oh, what are you getting me into? And, it was a lot of Phobos and Serpa holsters. It was a lot of inappropriate guns. Just a single action revolver, little snub single action revolver, like pocket guns that guys were carrying. And, oh, this is what I carry. So, there's that. There's a lot of yeah, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I train all the time. I go to the range at least once every 3 months. Like that's their idea of that. So again, getting people to unlearn bad habits or unlearn, misconceptions seems to be, the only real issue that I come across.
Yeah, I'd rather see an Uncle Mike's holster than a Serpa holster in those classes.
I agree, actually, and I'm surprised I'd say that, but I agree.
Jeff, I think you had something a minute ago that we kind of overspoke.
Yes. Going back to what level of proficiency you need to come into a class, I have found that the male ego is really fragile, and men don't want to show up to class unless they, can outshoot the guy next to them. And that's the biggest thing you shouldn't care about.
Yeah.
If you don't know anything, who cares? It doesn't matter if you're the worst shooter there. And when I'm trying to get my friends to any class, that is the biggest hindrance I have. I need to go practice before I take that. No.
Yeah.
No,
That's why you're taking them.
I had one of my regular guys that comes out to shotgun and pistol class. You guys are familiar with Todd Green's Dot Torture?
yeah, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can run that drill, murder that drill. And one of my local guys, this guy John, comes out, and I'm like, all right, guys, we're gonna end the day with some Dot Torture, blah blah blah, and he killed me on it. Like it came down to me and him, and we had to do it over because we both tied, and he beat me at Dot Torture. And he was like, oh, I beat you at your own drill. And I'm like, well, it's not my drill, and you're my student, and that just means you had great instruction. So you can't really run it with an ego. You can't be, that guy who's going to be like, oh, well, screw you. Don't come back to my classes. You outshot the instructor. Don't ever come back. It's like, no, I'm really happy that you did. I'm really pleased for you, and I'm impressed, and I hope you continue to shoot like that, because that's what it's all about. It's not about outshooting each other. It's about outshooting yourself. It's about being better, than you were the last time that you were in that situation. And that's something that I think a lot of people miss.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that not only in the defensive side of our industry, but also on the competitive side of our industry, it's kind of like playing golf. You're not really playing against somebody else. You're playing against yourself, and you're playing against your ego and your training.
100%. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I sat on a line next to Andy all weekend. This dude's a shooter, man. I was the guy that was practicing for the qual, the final test, and then I ended up shooting my worst run on that damn drill. And Andy absolutely smoked it, man.
Nice.
He was running a Glock 19.
It's not a Glock.
It's the same damn thing.
It's not a Glock.
They're Tupperware. I was running a Glock 48, but Andy absolutely smoked it. It was pretty cool to see. He was the
awesome
first loser in the class. He got second place for Top Shot, but it was
so close.
Yeah, it was a good class. But it was amazing to see. There were 34 students on the line, two volleys of 17. It was just interesting to see that, and from the students' perspective, and stealing, how Moss ran his range. I wanted to ask another question. I wanted to circle back to the class before I know we have to get you guys off of here, but I wanted to ask, what are the skills that students are working on in this class?
Is that for me or for Jeff?
For you, and then we'll circle back to Jeff on it.
Okay. My biggest, I guess my most important thing I want people to do, or at least to learn what skill I want them to walk away with, is to learn how to run the gun. It's really easy to make someone a good shooter, because all they need to do is stand still, line up the sights, pull the trigger, right? It's really difficult to get someone to be a good gun handler or a good gun manipulator. So right off the bat, the first thing that we do is we go over our different standing positions, which for the shotgun class is the high port, the hip rest / workspace, your shooting position, your low ready position, your high ready position. And then from there, once I've, gotten everybody sort of on the same page with that, and I can call out, high port, and everyone comes to high port, shooting position, and they'll bring the gun into shooting position, low ready, and they'll drop down, to low ready or whatever. From there, I'll get them into the different kneeling positions, and then into a seated position, and then into the dreaded prone position with a shotgun. Myth number 46. You can't shoot a shotgun from a prone position. Why not? Because you can't. Why not? I don't know, but you can't. Yes, you can. You just get down on the ground in a prone position and you shoot your shotgun. Pump shotgun, semi-auto shotgun, doesn't matter. So I go through the various standing positions, the various kneeling, seated, and prone positions, roll over left, roll over right, pull the knees in, the fetal, whatever it is. And then we'll go over some cycle of operations, some dry fire work. We'll get into some dummy round work. And we'll just discuss the different ways over, under, to load the gun, to clear malfunctions, to, port load, magazine load, whatever. Getting people just to understand the ways to manipulate and handle that gun and load it, feed it, keep it loaded, whatever. Those are the skills that I want people to have. Accuracy, yeah, absolutely. But that will all come with time. That will come with more reps than I can give you in a day. But getting people just over that hump of not knowing what to do with the gun when they pick it up, that's really, my biggest concern for the day.
Love it. Jeff, one last question to you. What was the most difficult part of that class for you?
Oh, the prone. Absolutely the prone. Running a pump shotgun, getting down the lowest you can get down it's difficult.
Yep.
It's really difficult. Everyone else was running semis, and it was much easier for them.
Yep. But if you're going to choose to run a pump shotgun for home defense, guess where you may find yourself at with that?
Oh, agreed.
Under your bed, around the corner of a doorway, who knows? So, take a look at your home, and, we ask ourselves, if, somebody kicked in the door of my house, or, it was an intruder in the house, what would I do? What would you do? Where would you shoot from? Where would you hide? Where would you hole up at with your family? Where is your last line of defense at? And you have to be able to, run that shotgun in any position, in any part of the house, at, any target, any angle. So, when people, I've heard people say, oh, you can't shoot shotgun prone. Challenge me,
Yes,
let's try it. Why not?
The other thing that was challenging is, towards the end of the day, Ben's jokes go really downhill. That was a big part of the challenge.
Damn it, Jeff.
That's awesome. Man, I picked up a few jokes in class this weekend. And we'll probably...
What do you got? Give me one.
None of them are appropriate for this podcast. I know we said we're not a vulgar podcast, man, but I tell you, so it was the Mag 20 class, and you don't see much, on YouTube or whatever from his classes, other than like the qualification shoot, and you hear people talk about how, how he's a funny guy. He is. He's got some good jokes. He's got some good puns.
No filter.
We did have there was a SIG. There was a student running a SIG Sauer 380, and it started crapping out with her on day two. He's like, "Yeah, when your SIG goes sour, you would have been Beretta getting a better Beretta." I was like, "Oh man." I'm a sucker for puns, though.
Well, here's one. It's my favorite joke currently right now. Two guys walking down the street in the city, off to go get lunch or whatever, their lunch break at work, whatever. And they pass a dog hanging out on the sidewalk, licking its balls. One guy looks at the other and says, "Man, I wish I could do that." And the other guy says, "Well, maybe you should pet him first."
Nice.
See what I mean?
The good
See
one.
what I mean?
I'm gonna use that.
It's like a instead of a dad joke, it's kind of like a bad uncle joke.
That weird uncle, because that's who I heard it from, the weird uncle.
I have the same 3 or 4 jokes that I use on the range, and Andy's out there every week. I'm like, man, this is probably getting old for these guys, for our assistant instructors. But it's a new audience every week, or every other week.
Absolutely.
I only have one joke, and it's not appropriate for this forum. So,
Oh yeah,
So not fun. You're not fun.
we can edit it out. I'm pretty sure you won't get us off banned on Facebook.
Hey Jeff, where are you right now?
I'm in Boston.
Where?
In Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, Boston. That's a good place for you to go fuck yourself.
Whoa, whoa!
That's all I got.
You should have said that to Andy or me, man. Not a guest.
He couldn't say it to me because I would have already answered it for him.
Oh,
Oh
that's a
god.
good one.
That is literally the only joke I have.
Oh man.
That's a good one.
He's not lying either.
Oh, please get that out, because
Pick up I'm gonna send you a joke book. I'm gonna get you.
One of my associates from the gym today went to go vote, and I texted her and I was like, "Hey, make sure you vote pro-gun." She writes back, "First of all, it's my right to vote for whoever the hell I want to vote for, so don't tell me how to vote." And she goes, "Secondly, of course." It's like,
Nice.
all right, you got me.
Got it. Yeah, I'm gonna send Judson a copy of Yehuda's joke book.
Don't.
We can help
Please
him out.
don't, because we'll hear it 4,000 times.
Nice.
yeah,
Well, it's going to be about
seriously, that's don't take that personally. That's literally the only joke I know.
Don't take it personally. We're not going to be able to get any guests on the show. It's going to be about 11 o'clock your guys' time. I really do appreciate y'all jumping on here and staying on with us as long as you have.
Yeah.
Be sure to check out Onsight Firearms training at oftllc.com. And if you don't mind typing I'm sorry, oftllc.us.
Are you some kind of commie?
I guess.
Hey, that's a good place.
.us.
.us.
oftllc.us.
That's down in the show notes correctly. I'm better with typing than I am with speaking stuff out loud. Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, are you on any of those social media platforms?
MySpace is still around?
I think so.
We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Grindr. No, not on Grindr.
I was going to say that's how Judson knew you.
Hey,
We're on Slammer, not Grindr.
Nice.
hey, Jeremy, are you on Tinder?
No, I'm married. I'm happily married. My wife, unhappily married because
How
it's
long have
me.
you been married?
Thanks, dude. 7 years.
How long have you been happily married?
7 years. 7 years, and we've been together for 10.
So how long have you been happily married?
7 years. My wife is awesome. She puts up with way more stuff than she ought to. I'm on the range 2 or 3 times a month, and then I'm taking classes on the other weekend while she gets to parade the kids around and do everything else. Right. So I'm using vacation days that we could be doing family stuff, and I'm taking a Masada U class next year, Tom Givens. Hopefully we can either get Ben out here or get out to Ben and take a shotgun class, because that's on list of classes that I need to take and that I want to take.
I'll go anywhere.
Okay. Let's talk about that once we jump off air, because I think we do need to get a defensive shotgun course going.
Cool.
So I appreciate everybody jumping on. Remember, it's your life, it's your safety and protection, it's your responsibility. And thank you guys for keeping us the safest podcast on the internet. 41 episodes now, no desk pops or negligent discharges.
Hang on.
Wait.
We'll keep that streak going next week. Appreciate it. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you.
And